You probably never stop to think about this, but above your head exists an $80 billion empire. Every time you turn on an LED bulb, you are participating in one of the greatest silent economic revolutions in modern history. This is not a common market. It is a money-making machine that operates 24 hours a day on all continents, transforming electricity into profit. Here at Factory Made, we explore how the LED bulb industry does not just sell lighting. It sells efficiency, economy, and the promise of a sustainable future. Governments invest billions in subsidies. Corporations dispute millionaire contracts. Consumers exchange their old bulbs for models that promise to last decades. And at the center of this financial gear, few manufacturers control most of the global market. What makes this market so lucrative is not just the sales volume. It is the stratospheric profit margin combined with the programmed obsolescence of previous technologies. When incandescent bulbs were banned in several countries, a market vacuum was created that the LED industry filled with mastery. Billions of light points needed to be replaced simultaneously across the planet. This phenomenon generated a modern gold rush. Factories emerged overnight. Investors poured capital into LED technology startups. Patents were disputed in international courts, and consumers, without realizing it, became fundamental pieces of an economic game much larger than they imagined. This is the beginning of the story of how a small light bulb transformed into the most lucrative product you never noticed. A story about money, power, and the illumination that changed the business world forever. $80 billion. This number did not emerge by chance. It is the result of a perfectly calibrated economic equation between production cost, profit margin, and global sales volume. To understand how the industry reached this level, you need to know the numbers that nobody tells you. An LED bulb costs between $2 and $5 to be produced on an industrial scale. But in retail, that same product is sold for $10 to $20. This profit margin of 300 to 400% is just the beginning. When you multiply this by billions of units sold annually, the numbers become astronomical. But the real financial secret lies in the promised durability. An LED bulb lasts, in theory, 25,000 hours. This means that the consumer pays more expensive initially, but the industry guarantees a constant flow of revenue through programmed replacements and technological upgrades. It is a business model that perfectly balances customer satisfaction with continuous profitability. The biggest market players do not make money just selling bulbs. They profit from technology licensing, patents, large-scale government contracts, and partnerships with construction companies and infrastructure firms. A single bid to illuminate a city can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And there is another crucial factor: energy savings. Governments subsidize the exchange of old bulbs for LEDs because this reduces national electrical consumption. But those who really profit from these subsidies are the manufacturers, who receive fiscal and financial incentives to expand production. It is a cycle where everyone wins, but some win much more than others. You may think that the LED bulb market is democratic and competitive, but reality is quite different. Only 5 corporations control more than 60% of the entire global market. These companies are not just manufacturers. They are financial empires with power to influence public policies and shape the future of world illumination. At the top of this pyramid are conglomerates that bill tens of billions of dollars annually. They own hundreds of patents, control entire supply chains, and have presence in more than 100 countries. When one of these giants decides to increase prices or launch a new technology, the entire market responds. The power of these corporations goes beyond direct sales. They invest heavily in lobbying to ensure that legislation favors their products. When a country decides to ban incandescent bulbs, there is usually one of these companies behind the scenes influencing the decision. It is not conspiracy. It is business strategy on a global scale. These giants also dominate research and development. They spend billions in laboratories to create the next generation of more efficient LEDs, cheaper to produce and more profitable. Each technological innovation is not just a scientific advance. It is an opportunity to increase profit margins and further consolidate market dominance. And there is an important detail. These companies do not just compete with each other. They form strategic alliances, share technologies through licensing agreements, and, occasionally, merge to create even larger monopolies. The result is a market that seems competitive on the surface, but is rigidly controlled by few players at the top. Before an LED bulb reaches your home, it travels through a value chain that moves billions of dollars across multiple continents. Each stage of this journey represents a profit opportunity for different industry players, and you, as the final consumer, pay for all these layers without even realizing it. Everything begins with the extraction of rare materials and semiconductors. Gallium, indium, and rare earths are essential components for LED production. These materials are extracted in specific mines, often located in politically unstable regions. The control of these natural resources is strategic and highly lucrative. After extraction, the materials go to specialized refineries that transform them into high-purity electronic components. This process is technologically complex and requires massive investments in infrastructure. Only a few companies in the world have the technical and financial capacity to operate at this level. The refined components are then sold to LED chip manufacturers who transform them into the small light-emitting diodes. This stage is where most of the added value is created. An LED chip that costs cents to produce can be sold for dollars to final assemblers. Finally, the chips arrive at assembly factories, where they are incorporated into bulbs, heat sinks, and electronic circuits. This is the most visible stage of the chain, but also the least lucrative in terms of percentage margin. The real money is in the previous stages, where few players control scarce resources and patented technologies. The LED bulb industry operates in a continuous cycle that never stops. While you sleep, millions of bulbs are being produced, shipped, and installed somewhere in the world. This market knows no recession, takes no vacation, and does not slow down. It is a perpetual revenue generation machine. Demand for LED lighting grows exponentially each year. Developing countries are electrifying their infrastructures. Smart cities are replacing old systems with connected LED technology. Companies seek to reduce operational costs through more efficient lighting. Each of these trends represents billions of dollars in business opportunities. The residential market is just the tip of the iceberg. The real volume of money is in commercial and industrial contracts. A single shopping mall can buy tens of thousands of LED bulbs at once. A factory can install hundreds of thousands. And when governments decide to modernize the public lighting of entire cities, contracts can reach hundreds of millions of dollars. There is also the replacement market. Even though LED bulbs last a long time, they eventually fail or become technologically obsolete. The industry has already calculated exactly when these replacement waves will happen and is prepared to capitalize on each cycle. And we cannot forget emerging markets. Regions that previously had no access to stable electricity are now jumping directly to LED technology. This creates virgin markets with explosive growth potential. For the industry, each new electrified region represents a new profit frontier. In the world of LED bulbs, whoever controls the patents controls the money. These intellectual protections are not just legal documents. They are economic weapons that determine who can produce, who can sell, and who stays out of the most lucrative market in modern lighting. The fundamental patents of LED technology are controlled by a handful of companies and research institutions. Any manufacturer who wants to enter the market needs to license these technologies, paying royalties that can represent a significant percentage of the final product price. This creates an almost insurmountable entry barrier for new competitors. The value of these patents is incalculable. Some were sold for hundreds of millions of dollars. Others generate billions in royalties throughout their useful lives. And when a patent is about to expire, holders frequently develop improvements that extend protection for more decades. Patent wars are common in this industry. Companies sue each other regularly, disputing technologies that can be worth billions. These litigations are not just about intellectual rights. They are strategic battles for market control and participation in the astronomical profits of the sector. For you, consumer, this means that a significant part of the price you pay for an LED bulb does not go to who manufactured it. It goes to patent holders who, many times never touched a production line. It is an invisible tax that feeds the true lords of the lighting industry. The relationship between governments and the LED bulb industry is one of the most lucrative public-private partnerships in recent history. When authorities decide to promote energy efficiency, they are not just thinking about the environment. They are opening the floodgates for a massive flow of money toward LED manufacturers. Government subsidies represent billions of dollars in guaranteed revenue for the industry. Incentive programs allow consumers to buy LED bulbs with significant discounts, but who really receives that money are the manufacturers. It is a system where the taxpayer finances, without knowing, the profits of multinational corporations. Public bids for urban lighting are another gold mine. When a city decides to modernize its public lighting network, the contract can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. These bids generally favor large corporations that have the capacity to supply millions of units and offer long-term financing. Regulations that ban old technologies are also extremely lucrative for the LED industry. When a government prohibits incandescent or fluorescent bulbs, a mandatory demand for LEDs is instantly created. It is not a consumer choice. It is a legal imposition that guarantees massive sales. And there is an even more interesting aspect. Many of the experts who advise governments on lighting policies have direct or indirect links with the LED industry. It is not necessarily corruption. It is the way the system functions. And the final result is always the same. More money flowing to the coffers of LED manufacturers. The central promise that drives the $80 billion market is simple: energy savings. But what few realize is that this savings for the consumer transforms into extraordinary profit for the industry. It is one of the most brilliant marketing tricks of the modern era. An LED bulb consumes up to 80% less energy than an incandescent one. This argument is irresistible for consumers and companies seeking to reduce operational costs. But there is a paradox. The more efficient the bulbs become, the more the industry profits, because it can charge premium prices for superior technology. Electric power companies are also benefited by this transition. With lower per capita consumption, they can postpone massive investments in new generating plants. This creates an alliance between utilities and LED manufacturers, where both profit from the same efficiency narrative. For large corporations, the switch to LED represents savings of millions of dollars in energy bills over the years. But the initial investment is so high that many resort to specific financing offered by the LED manufacturers themselves. This creates an additional revenue stream through interest and financial services. The common consumer also saves, there is no doubt, but that savings is diluted over years, while the initial payment is concentrated. The industry receives the money now, and you recover the investment little by little. It is a financial dynamic that enormously favors who sells, not who buys. While corporate giants dominate the official market, there exists a parallel universe of LED bulbs that moves billions of dollars outside traditional radars. This informal market is as lucrative as it is controversial and represents a significant slice of the global $80 billion. Unauthorized factories, especially in countries with loose regulation, produce millions of LED bulbs that do not respect patents or quality standards. These products are sold at much lower prices, creating unfair but extremely profitable competition for those who operate in this space. Informal distributors buy these bulbs in large volumes and resell them through unofficial channels. Small merchants, popular markets, and even online platforms have become sales points for these products. The volume of transactions is so large that it is impossible for authorities to control. For official manufacturers, this parallel market represents billions in lost revenue. They invest heavily in combating piracy and counterfeiting, but the battle is unequal. For every clandestine factory closed, 2 new ones emerge in different locations. Ironically, this informal market also serves the interests of the official industry. It democratizes access to LED technology in regions where original products would be inaccessible, expanding the user base and creating future demand for premium products. It is a complex ecosystem where even piracy has its economic role. The LED bulb industry cannot afford to stagnate. To maintain the flow of $80 billion annually, it constantly needs to create new reasons for you to buy. And that is exactly what technological innovation provides. Planned obsolescence disguised as progress. Each year, new generations of more efficient, brighter LEDs or with additional features emerge. Smart bulbs that connect to your smartphone. Lighting systems that automatically adjust color and intensity. Each innovation is not just a technical advance, it is an opportunity to sell again to those who already bought. The innovation cycle is carefully calibrated. Launching improvements too quickly could irritate consumers who just invested in technology that becomes obsolete. Launching too slowly could cool the market. The industry found the perfect rhythm. Significant innovations every 2 or 3 years. Research and development consumes billions of dollars annually, but the return on that investment is exponential. A new patented technology can guarantee competitive advantage for years and justify premium prices that multiply profits. And there is another crucial aspect. Innovation creates market segmentation. Basic consumers buy simple and cheap LEDs. Technology enthusiasts pay much more for advanced features. Companies invest in complex corporate systems. Each segment has its own price point, maximizing value extraction from all types of customers. The current $80 billion are just the beginning. The next frontier of the lighting industry is not just selling bulbs. It is selling data, connectivity, and integration with digital ecosystems. The future of lighting is smart, connected, and infinitely more lucrative. Smart LED bulbs are already reality, but represent only a fraction of the market. As homes and cities become more connected, lighting transforms into an entry point for digital services. Each bulb becomes a node in a network that collects data, monitors behaviors, and offers additional services. This business model does not depend only on the single sale of the product. It creates recurring revenue through software subscriptions, remote maintenance services, and integration with other smart devices. It is the transformation of a product into a continuous services platform. Technology companies are aggressively entering this market, bringing capital and software expertise. The fusion between traditional lighting and digital technology is creating a new hybrid sector that could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars in the coming decades. For you, this means that the bulb above your head may soon know more about your habits than you imagine. And each data collected, each pattern identified, represents a new monetization opportunity for the industry. The future of lighting is not just brighter, it is infinitely more lucrative. We have reached the end of this journey through the $80 billion empire that exists above our heads. But this is not really a story about bulbs. It is a story about how technology, strategy, and perfect timing create colossal fortunes from basic human needs. At Factory Made, we discovered that the LED bulb industry is a perfect case study of modern capitalism. It took a universal need, lighting, and transformed it into a sophisticated market with multiple layers of profit. From the extraction of raw materials to the final sale, each stage is a wealth generation opportunity. What makes this market particularly fascinating is its invisibility. You use the product every day, but probably never thought about the financial empire it sustains. Billions of dollars change hands, corporations dispute global dominance, and fortunes are built, all while you simply flip a switch. And the most impressive thing, this market is still growing. With the expansion of smart cities, the electrification of developing regions, and constant technological innovation, today's $80 billion can easily transform into $200 billion in the coming decades. So the next time you turn on an LED bulb, remember, you are not just illuminating a room. You are participating in one of the greatest wealth generation machines of the modern economy. An empire built on something as simple as light, but as complex as the global financial markets it feeds.